on the subjective and objective information and how long the patient's been experiencing symptoms, we decided that he's in the chronic stage of healing, and we came up with 4 exercises to help rehabilitate his quadriceps tendon and get him back to doing the activities he wants to do at the level he wants to do them.
So this first exercise that we decided on was a single leg wall sit or wall squat. And the reason we decided this instead of other forms is that tendinopathies respond well to isometric loading, and especially as heavy as we can go with the load as well. So that's why we decided the single leg to try and get that load higher, and we can always regress this if it's too much as far as pain or strength can go. But starting here, 3 sets of 15. If we need to, we can kind of do a little kickstand here, or just go straight into 2 legs if it's too much as far as pain is concerned. But to progress it, we can go deeper or add weight to it. Yeah.
All right, and so for this next exercise, we're doing a single leg touchdown squat. There's actually a few different ways that you can do this exercise. Again, for the same reason as before with the either single leg or double leg wall squats, the idea is to put as much load as we can through that tendon, as that's what it responds well to in the healing process, especially in this chronic stage of healing. And this in its own, just on its own, will put a lot of weight through that, and that's what we want. And this, we can start super easy and then get harder and harder. And so for this exercise, so if you could come a little bit closer so they can see at least kind of the bottom half. So with this exercise, like for him, it would be a little bit easier if we had the leg a little bit further out. Not so much weight, I can feel that more on my hip extensors, but so if we shift the weight a little bit more this way, then I can feel a lot more of the weight onto my quad tendon. And so with this exercise, you just want to be able to touch, and I want him to hold it for maybe like a second or 2 just to keep that time under tension, and then he's going to come back up. And again, it's a touch, hold, and he's going to come back up. And then to progress this exercise, ideally we would just add different platforms here just to make it a little bit higher, so that way the quad tendon, quad itself, can go through a larger range of motion. And so again, it's pretty much the same movement, touch, and then come back up. And for this particular exercise, we would want to stick in the hypertrophy range. That way he can, now that it's a little bit more dynamic, so he's going through that range of motion rather than kind of like an isometric. And so I would put him at around the 4 sets of strictly 12 reps, so that way he's in between the hypertrophic stimulus as well as the more endurance side of things.
All right, for this exercise, we're going to focus a little bit more on power production and absorbing force. He said he plays basketball and then he jumps off of his left leg, so landing from a jump and then eventually generating the power to actually perform that jump is something that we definitely want to be touching on in our exercise prescription. So we would start on some boxes. I would want to go as high as he can tolerate without generating pain. So I'm not sure if this is going to be accurate. It could be higher, maybe it could be a little bit lower. Kind of hard to say. But what we would like him to do is step up here, and then he'll jump off and land very delicately. Minimum sound, that's a cueing chip we can use. Land quiet, and should look something like this. If he's experiencing pain there, I would want to look at his biomechanics, make sure his knee is not tracking too far over his toes, cue him to sit back more with his hips. Eventually, maybe we could actually encourage a little bit more of that tracking, because that happens a lot in sport. You can't always be perfect about it, and that could be a progression for this exercise. For dosage, ideally this is high enough that it really challenges his ability to absorb that load and that landing with maximal control. So I would keep the dosage relatively low. I wouldn't want to go higher than probably 6 reps, 7 reps at the start for sure. I would do a little bit more sets, because this is pretty functional. This is relatively high level for where we're going to start with him at least. So maybe 4 or 5 sets with a nice long break in between 2 minutes, just so we can really let his body recover from it. For progressions, we can obviously go higher. That's kind of the easy one. We can drop onto 1 and recover from that. We can drop and then go straight into a concentric phase and generate power. That's probably the end, the last level of the progression that we would go to, single leg version of that. For regression, we can drop it lower. We can add a little bit of stability, like if we had him hold on to like a Ther-Ex or something in front of him while he did it. But he seems like that probably wouldn't be necessary. I'd probably start with a double leg and then relatively quickly try to progress to a single leg.
So then for our fourth exercise, we decided to do heel raises or like calf raises. We really wanted to do this to focus on his right calf because he mentioned that it atrophied due to the Achilles rupture. So we're going to build some muscle mass and strengthen that, and then this will also help like reduce the load that's going through his quads, especially like when landing from jumps and doing those motions. So to start, we'll do 2 up and then 1 down. And then if he needs, he can hold on to something for stabilization. And then we'll slowly progress to single leg. And then we can add some weight. And then we can eventually move to going onto a surface and then doing them here. And then we're gonna do this for hypertrophy, or almost like on the edge of hypertrophy and endurance. So 12 reps for 3 to 6 sets, and then we'll have about 30 seconds to a minute and a half in between sets.